Alright you guys, in today's video we're going to go over how to change your spark plugs and ignition coils. So my spark plugs have about 50,000 miles on them, and they're not iridium, they're platinum tip ones. And even though I haven't got an engine code, I can tell because I don't have potatoes in my exhaust, it's very free flowing. The exhaust note has changed. And also I'm starting to die at idle for no reason. You want to go from a dig?
No, first, second, from a 5 roll.
Alright. Alright, ready? The car still runs. I can tell I'm about to get a misfire code. So I'm going to go ahead and change out my coils and change out my spark plugs, and I'm going to show you guys how to do that. Alright, before we begin, let's disconnect the negative battery cable. You'll need a 10mm wrench. You're going to disconnect the negative first. And once you loosen this up, go ahead and pull it off. And then the next thing we're going to do is remove the air intake. Alright, as you guys can tell here, I've already loosened up the air intake. Go ahead and loosen yours up. You're going to want to disconnect the MAF, just like this. Be very careful with the air intake that you don't shake it and hurt the MAF at all. Now that the air intake is removed, I want to emphasize how important it is to make sure that the engine is completely cold, at least 3 hours of sit time, if not more. You want to make sure because you don't want to strip the threads and the head with the new spark plugs, because you want to make sure the threads are completely cold, and then when you're torquing them to spec, they're going to spec and there's not heat. That makes the spec off and you can over tighten them and break a spark plug off on the top of the head, or you know, it could fall down through and actually hit the piston if it goes too far. Alright, you're going to go ahead and follow the wiring harness because you need a little free play in it to be able to get to the spark plugs. So go ahead and remove this bolt right here. It takes a 10mm. And then you're going to go ahead and remove this bolt right here. It also takes a 10mm. And then I put these in a while ago, I don't know why, they take a 10mm, but I have to use an Allen wrench to go ahead and loosen this up. And then you're going to go ahead and also loosen this bolt right here. And then there's another little hidden one right back in here. You're going to want to loosen this one up. If I can get the camera right there. Okay, so once you get those loosened, then you're going to have the free play and the wiring harness that you need to go ahead and get the spark plugs removed along with the coil packs. Alright, I think the notice is when you're pulling these little bolts out, there are different lengths. So it's good practice as soon as you pull it out, go ahead and stick the nut or the bolt right back down in so you don't get confused, because these ones up here, where's the other one at? Right here. They're shorter length, as you can tell, because these two right here are a little bit longer. So I know those go right here is where this one goes. The little longer one goes right here, and the little longer one also goes right here. And then I stared at this for a second and I was like, how did I get this off last time? So you might get confused. There's a bolt right here. That's the bolt that actually holds on the coil pack. The bolt behind it is back there behind that wire. You can see that's the one to loosen it, and then this will all come loose. All right, once you got that bolt off out of the back right here, you can see it gives you plenty of free play. Now here's where people mess up, and luckily for me I already have mine labeled, is when you start disconnecting these coils right here, they get confused on which one goes where. So make sure you label it for the cylinder. Like this is cylinder 6, goes all the way here to the back. This is cylinder 4 right here in the middle, and then this is cylinder 2. Because you want to make sure when you unhook these, you remember exactly which way they went. Also, when you take these bolts out, you want to remember exactly these are the bolts that went to the coil packs. So I have a separator, like right here, these are the coil pack bolts. Over here, these are the bracket bolts. So before you remove these coil packs, you want to make sure it's clean. You don't want any dirt falling down in the cylinder. So you can take a little duster. Duster is just a lot easier than compressed air. It's not so forceful. Just start blowing dirt out. This thing's pretty dusty. Go ahead and get right back in there. All right, on cylinder number 2, go ahead and pull the connector off the coil pack, just like so. And then we're going to loosen the 10mm bolt off the coil pack, and then we're going to gently pull it out. and then gently slide this coil pack out. Be careful. And the sad thing is these coil packs really are only good for about 50,000 miles to maybe 70,000 before they need replaced. So let's look down then cylinder 2, see how we're doing. Yeah, looks pretty clean. Okay, so a lot of people, I don't know why they're not using the magnetized spark plug remover. This isn't really that expensive, and it's much easier to make sure that you're not stripping or cross-threading the threads in the head with the spark plug if you lose grip because of the little rubber grommet in here. I've used a rubber grommet a long time ago and it falls out. Just take the time and buy a magnetized spark plug remover. You won't regret it. So let's go ahead and pull that plug out. All right, before you pull this spark plug out, you're going to want to make sure this is completely clean. So take a little duster, spray in here, and you should be all set. Okay, right here's a spark plug out of cylinder number 2. As you can tell, it's got a bunch of brown stuff on it. I used a little too much anti-seize. You're not supposed to use anti-seize because you can over torque these. Even though I'm using a torque wrench, I don't really know how that's possible. But I'm going to go with what they say now. And these new plugs don't use any anti-seize on it. I'm just going to torque it down the spec. Okay, the gap specifications on your spark plugs to your G35 or 350Z is 0.043. Okay, 43 thousandths of an inch. These already come pre-gapped at 0.044, 44 thousandths of an inch. So they're already pre-gapped for you. And if you want to check them, I have another video where I show you how to do that. You just take a little wire feeler in there and ensure the gap is proper. On these plugs, the gap on every single one I validated is actually into spec. So I didn't have to gap these at all. They were already pre-gapped for me. So an important step when installing the coil pack is the connector grease, dielectric grease. Not only does it make the coil pack last longer because it ensures that arcing doesn't happen in between, it also helps when you pull it off. It comes off more smoothly. It's a pretty big glob actually. Doesn't matter. You don't want too much actually, so let's take this other end since I did get a lot. And just rub it in and out like this. Put a little bit right here. And then you're gonna take a spark plug, just put some on the porcelain, just like this. Not on the really here on the metal, just on the porcelain. And then again, this helps arcing. You want to put your spark plug in your magnetized socket. Makes it very easy. And then we're going to slowly put it down into the cylinder and go very finger and just use your hands. No torque wrench, no ratchet, and slowly screw it in to the right to make sure you don't cross thread it. Now, as you're slowly turning this, if you feel any resistance, it's not going in correctly, you need to back it out. It should slowly turn with no resistance at all and go in nice and smooth. You know how a nice, smooth bolt goes in a hole. So if you feel any resistance, it doesn't want to turn, you need to back out and start again. You're not lined up. Okay, now once you have it in there finger tight, you're going to want to go ahead and take your torque wrench. Not a foot-pound one, an inch-pound. If you're using foot-pounds, it's only 15 foot-pounds to 21 foot-pounds. This is a torque wrench in inches. So to convert 15 foot-pounds to inches is 180 inch-pounds. And that's what I have this set at, if this will focus. Now, the reason using a torque wrench correctly is important because you can snap the spark plug off in the cylinder head if you go too tight, or you can over tighten it into the threads and it could just drop down into the cylinder. You just don't want to strip the threads, so you want to make sure you're using the proper device to torque it down the spec. So with your new coil, which has its dielectric grease already on it, go ahead and place it back in. And I like to do one at a time. And the reason for that being is you make sure you don't get any dirt down in the cylinder, and you also put the correct bolt back in its right spot. So you're not getting bolts mixed up because they are different lengths. So go ahead, press it down the hole, and then go ahead and screw these down in. And these take very little torque on them, so just get them snug and maybe a half a turn. And then make sure you hook your connector back up to it, which is this one right here. But I'm going to do that after I go ahead and disconnect these. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one. All right, we got the connectors off here, off cylinder 6. Here's cylinder 4. Let's go ahead and remove it. The nice thing about buying coil packs from O'Reilly's is these have a lifetime warranty. So all I had to do is really pay for spark plugs. These coil packs didn't cost me anything to replace. There you go, there's cylinder number 2. Or sorry, number 4. See how it looks in there? Let's go ahead and blow the dust out of it, just like we did on number 2. How's that look? Yeah, looks pretty bad. Yeah. Cylinder 6. So here on cylinder 1, go ahead and loosen the nut on it, or the bolt. I found it a lot easier once you kind of pull up on the coil pack to then go and disconnect the harness, because it's at a hard angle. So that makes it a lot easier. So go ahead and pull that out. Yep, looks pretty toasted too. Alright, that's cylinder 1. Okay, right here's cylinder 1, and I found it easier if you went ahead and you left this coil pack out. It gives you access to pull off this a lot easier off coil pack on cylinder number 3. So it gives you just a lot easier access to go ahead and be able to pull that out. Obviously you got to have this bracket too loose so you can get access. This one was actually a lot more difficult than I remember it being. Let's take a look down in there. Cylinder number 3, see how she looks? That looks good. Okay, if you look here on cylinder 5, here's the connector for it. Right back there is cylinder 5. You want to leave cylinder 3, the coil pack, out so you can get access to that connector again, make it simple on you. And then just keep the duster around so you can spray out these holes if you knock anything down in there, because I've already got the spark plugs down in there into spec at 120 inch-pounds. So let's go ahead and pull this coil number 5 out and look at cylinder number 5. So let's see what cylinder 5 looks like. And that looks good. Plug does not. Alright, then put the last one in and we're done. Okay, once you got the coil pack slid in cylinder number 5, I'm going to go ahead and connect this little doohickey to it. Okay, and then once you get this connected with cylinder 5, then you're going to get cylinder 3. Go ahead and get its little connector connected, which is down here. Leave it a little loose, and then we're going to move on and finally finish cylinder 1. Yeah, these plugs definitely need replacing. They're platinums, these were not iridiums, but these were, I couldn't get the weapon R's, they only had the G's available, because I did these on the side of the road back in California, so they've got about 50,000 miles on them, so the iridiums will definitely be better. Alright you guys, I'm getting everything basically buttoned up. Each coil pack has been installed. This last one, remember, raise it a little bit to get this final connector on, it's a little easier. I'm going to go ahead and put this last 10mm bolt in, and that completes the job. So I hope this helped you guys and doing spark plugs and coil packs and the misfires that you have. And yeah, I'll see you next video.